ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبد الله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب ولكن البر من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتاب والنبيين وآتى المال على حبه ذوي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل والسائلين وفي الرقاب وأقام الصلاة وآتى الزكاة الآية. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الساعي على الأرملة والمساكين كالمجاهد في سبيل الله وأحسبه قال وكالقائم لا يفطر وكالصائم لا يفطر وكالذي يقوم الليل ويصوم النهار أو كما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Respected listeners, firstly apologize for sounding like a frog, but my throat is totally gone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His infinite mercy, has allowed us to come into the month of Ramadan, and we are so blessed and so lucky that we can begin this month in this manner. Alhamdulillah, a few days have already gone by, and in a blink of an eye, the whole month will pass us by as well, inshaAllah. But we hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from His infinite mercy, that He accepts whatever broken actions and deeds that we're able to do. Amongst them, primarily would be that obviously we fast and we pray at night, but apart from these two, which are the obvious ones, perhaps the one that can be the most primary thereafter is to be generous and give charity in this month. It's mentioned in a hadith by Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu. He says, سُئِلَ النَّبِيُّ صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked, أَيُّ الصَّدَقَةِ أَفْضَلُ? Which sadaqah is the most virtuous, O Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The Prophet ﷺ implied sadaqatun fi Ramadan, that when you give charity in the month of Ramadan, because it only makes sense. It's increased numerous amounts of times. Like for example, the famous hadith of Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu, he narrates that the Prophet ﷺ said that any optional act performed in Ramadan is equivalent to a fard act, and any fard act is multiplied 70 times. And in Hadith Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself says that He multiplies it أضعافا مضاعفة, numerous times multiplied over and over again. So we can't even begin to fathom the amount of reward that sadaqah will yield in the month of Ramadan. The hadith I recited in the very beginning kind of goes in line with what IMRC does. One of the main things that IMRC does is to take care of those people who are unable to take care of themselves. Rasulullah ﷺ said, the one who makes effort to look after the widows, he said, "As-sa'i ala al-armala wal-miskin." The ones who looks after the widows and the destitute. He says, "Kal-mujahidi fi sabilillah." It's like the person who strives and struggles in the path of Allah. And the narrator says, and I'm sure that he also said, like the one who stands in prayer all night. وَكَالْقَائِمِ لَا يَفْطُرُ, who prays all night and doesn't get tired. وَكَالصَّائِمِ لَا يُفْطِرُ, or the person who fasts continuously and doesn't even make iftar. Or he says, وَكَالَّذِي يَقُومُ اللَّيْلِ, like the one who stands in prayer at night, وَيَصُومُ النَّهَارِ, and fast every day. So you pray every night and you pray every day. Fast every day and pray every night. That's the reward that a person receives for looking after the orphans and the destitute and the widows and those people who are for whatever reason unable to look after themselves. Speaking about orphans, the Prophet ﷺ also said, "Man kafala yatiman aw armalatan," whoever looks after or becomes a guarantor for a widow or for an orphan or a yatim. We know the famous hadith about the 7 people who are given shade under Allah's throne, and one of them is a person who gives sadaqah with his right hand, such that his left hand doesn't know what his right hand spent. But those aren't the only people that get Allah's shade. This hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, أَظَلَّهُ اللَّهُ فِي ظِلِّهِ, Allah will give him shade under His throne, وَأَدْخَلَهُ الْجَنَّةِ, and cause him to enter His paradise. That's basically the mission of our lives, is to earn Allah's pleasure and enters paradise. That's basically the definition of success as is mentioned in the Quran. فَمَنْ زُحْزِحَ عَنِ النَّارِ وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةِ فَقَدْ فَازَ. If you're saved from the hellfire and made to enter paradise, then you've succeeded. Anything else is basically trivial. And not only that, but there may be many of us who in this month, we know people who were here last year and they're not here with us this Ramadan. Or many of us who our relatives have maybe passed on, and however they live their lives, but we can do certain acts as a means of sadaqah jariyah or a continual perpetual charity for them. Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu, he came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was a young child when he came to the Prophet. He was 10 years old when his mother put him in the service of the Prophet ﷺ, and later on his mother passed away. He came to the Prophet ﷺ and he asked, he said, Ya Rasulullah, inna ummi tuwafiyat, my mother had passed away, walam tusi. She hadn't left behind a will that I should give anything on or do anything for her. So then he asks the Prophet ﷺ, أَفَيَنْفَعُهَا أَنْ أَتَصَدَّقَ عَنْهَا? Will it benefit her if I give sadaqah on her behalf? The Prophet ﷺ said, نَعَمْ وَعَلَيْكَ بِالْمَاءِ. That yes, you should, and you should consider it necessary that you give sadaqah using some type of water. In other words, dig up a well in her name, or have a river or some type of irrigation or something done where people can benefit from water. Again, subhanAllah, in India or Pakistan or back home, whenever we go, we don't drink the regular water, most of us, right? Most people drink like bottled water. And even that is like sometimes doubtful. So think about the people who don't even have clean water to drink, right? This is one of those ways where if you were to, for example, take up the deal that, let's say, IMRC has in their pamphlet about digging up wells for people on behalf of your deceased relative, let's say for your father or grandfather or grandmother or mother, whoever, doesn't matter, right? For somebody or anybody. And not only that, but realistically, it doesn't even have to be for a deceased person. It could even be for a living person. Inshallah, it's hope from Allah's mercy that He will give them the reward of that. So these are just a few things to keep in mind while we're here. We're enjoying our lovely meals. As the sister said earlier, and recently, it wasn't something of old, but in the recent books of Fatawa, they're now posing a question which is like boggles the mind to read, that there's an actual question posed to muftis, that is a person's fast valid if they don't have anything to break their fast with? Can you imagine like what condition they must be in? This question came in from Iraq, right? And it's not far from imagination that the same situation would be for people in India or Africa or anywhere else where they're barely able to do suhoor and they don't have nothing to break their fast with, right? And then, alhamdulillah, we're living a great life. So it only makes sense for us that when Allah has blessed us, we give from whatever little we can. The Prophet, I'm going to end with this one hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that 1 dirham has beat out 1,000 dirhams or 100,000 dirhams. So the Sahaba, they asked, how can 1 dirham beat out 100,000 dirhams? They were confused because it doesn't make sense. The Prophet ﷺ said that there was a man who was extremely wealthy, and when he donated his wealth, he donated 100,000 dirhams, but he had so much more left. And there was another man who only had 2 dirhams, and he donated 1 of them. So it's always about quality and not necessarily about quantity. So again, with sincerity and ikhlas, and from the bottom of our hearts, if we give for a good cause, inshallah, Allah Ta'ala will accept. And not only that, but it'll add for all the other good things that we're hoping for in life, and as a protection from all the bad things that we're trying to avoid in our lives. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He accept our fasting, that He accept all our sadaqah and good that we're doing in this, while we're here in this month of Ramadan, and that that this dinner, this function, inshallah, and all the endeavors that IMRC and all the other organizations that are there to help those that are less fortunate, Allah aid and assist them and make their missions a success, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Jazakumullah khairan, Brother Nabil. Mashallah, he mentioned about the water well, which is actually right now very dear to my heart, the water well project. Mashallah, we have started this in 2013, the water well project. And we have over 500 water wells built. And if I tell you the horror stories that I get to hear, and I see that people who are digging just to find water, these are little girls. In some places in Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh, the people, they were having mouth cancers. I mean, right now, all of our mouth is dried, and we're looking forward to that jug in front of us. And we know it's a clean water for us, but subhanallah, it only takes $1,800 to, build a water well. I just learned something from Qadri Uncle is here, and he gave me this Ghazali's inner dimensions of Islamic worship, and it's about fasting. It gave 3 kinds of fast. And the first one was ordinary fasting, which means abstaining from food and drink and your desires. So it's like don'ts. And then there's another special fasting. So there's 3 kinds. One is ordinary fasting, the second is a special fasting, which means keeping one's ears, eyes, tongue, hands and feet, and all other organs free from sin. But the third and extra special fasting means fasting of the heart. And I was thinking that there's so many don'ts, but subhanAllah, if you think about so many good things that we can do during the fast, the good things which are, inshallah, they will be offered. And without further ado, I will have Sajid play the video of our projects, inshallah.
The Muslims of India is 280 million, right? Out of 280 million, 80% of them are below poverty. They work hard and they earn less than $1 a day.
When we started IMRC, it was as a relief organization almost 30 years back. And since then, we have evolved into providing different services. Other than we provide services in education, in healthcare, social welfare, and religious activities.
Our mission is very clear: to help Muslims and minorities of India achieve freedom, equality, justice as citizens of India. We are trying to build 100 quality education institutions in these slum areas. Many of these students are farm workers, laborers, rickshaw drivers, and when these students go to college, become the engineer or MBA, they can change their whole family, they can change the whole village.
मेरे गांव में ना बहुत कम लड़कियां पढ़ी लिखी, लड़कियां क्या, लड़के भी नहीं पढ़े लिखे, पढ़ाई क्या है जानते तक नहीं है. If they learn something, they can understand something, they can read something, they can protect themselves, they can take care of themselves, they can look after their property. They will not be exploited by the society.
The suburb of Hyderabad is called Mohiuddin. That's where we started out first with the orphanage, and then following that, we have opened up a very class, state-of-the-art high school, recently getting permission for changing it into a junior college, and inshallah very soon we'll have the College of Education right there at those premises.
हम पढ़ा रहे हैं, अभी हम कुछ नहीं जाने, लेकिन बच्चे हमारे जान जाएं दुनिया क्या है.
मैं कहती हूँ मेरे गांव में ना पढ़ाई के लिमिटेड कुछ ज़्यादा होता है, क्योंकि यहाँ होता है किला का, कहते हैं कि मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा ऊंचे लेवल पे है, तो इसलिए मतलब आता नहीं कोई, देख के रह जाते हैं लोग.
JIT is one campus, one entity, but the impact would be the entire country. Because we have students from West Bengal, from Assam, from Jharkhand, from Bihar, from UP, Rajasthan, Jammu Kashmir. I can assure that these financials are being used for real purposes. It's not only a day story that you are feeding to a person, but it's a long-term kind of benefits.
We are looking at orphanages, and this year we have embarked on sponsoring 1,000 orphans throughout India right now. So we are selecting different states, and we are visiting to find out what conditions they are in and what needs to be improved and how can we sponsor them. The other programs that we are doing are the water wells in villages where people fetch water from a mile or two. So we almost spent a year completely designing this hospital, and started 2 years back.
I think sight is the most important sense that we have. They're sometimes not even aware that it could be corrected. Education and you know, surgeries, cataract surgery is actually a life-changing surgery for the patients.
We're doing tons of work, tons, literally, in every field. Whether it be education, whether it be healthcare, whether it be social welfare, whether it be religious type work, whatever work that we are doing, nobody else is providing that services in the States. We are the only ones. IMRC is the only organization that is providing complete 360, so to say, services from birth to death. I mean, without our donors, we cannot do this work. It's purely donor-based.
100% goes for the charity part. There is no overhead. For example, if you pay zakat, sadaqah, or feeding, all of the money goes to 100%. There is no other charity, to my knowledge, which gives 100% of the donation back.
One thing I wanted to mention is that, like Brother Nabil was mentioning, that people do wells project and different things in their, you know, like deceased parents. So that's one thing. But I have donors, mashallah, who look out for their, like, oh no, I want to do it for my grandson or for my grandchildren. So that is something that opened my eyes also, that, you know, you're looking forward toward your kids who are going to continue this legacy, inshallah ta'ala. So I will have Safir Mohiuddin do the IMRC presentation, inshallah. And as you know, Safir Mohiuddin is Brother Razi Mohiuddin and Tassin's son also. And he's like my son, so I'm introducing him like that, mashallah. So good to see these kids grow up. And he has been involved with IMRC's endowment committee for a couple of years. And he works at Amazon, and he's been involved with the local community, alhamdulillah, mashallah. So, Safir, inshallah, Tazakir.
Assalamualaikum. Manzoor uncle asked me to talk for a few minutes about what you and we together have been able to accomplish by supporting IMRC in 2017. And just briefly want to talk about what our mission was and to renew our intentions of supporting IMRC, and then talk about some of the numbers actually of what we've been able to accomplish. So our mission at IMRC is to help India's Muslims achieve basic human rights, you know, security, freedom, food, shelter, clothing. And right now, like in the video it shared, there's about 210 Muslims in India, and about 80% of them are either below the poverty line or on the poverty line. So that's an overwhelming majority of the Muslims in India. The kind of three main objectives that we are trying to work at IMRC is to provide, you know, economic and educational assistance, and that includes, you know, providing food and shelter, but also establishing educational institutions like the JIT college and other schools that we'll talk about. The second piece is to provide emergency relief and medical aid through both the natural disasters and the man-made disasters that happen in India. The third piece is to provide information and share knowledge with people about the persecution of Muslims in India, right? And this has gotten considerably worse in the last 3 to 5 years, and it's really, really important to share of how the government and other parties in India have not been helping the situation for Muslims in India. At a high level, there's 4 programs that we do here at IMRC. The first one, kind of the most important to do from a long-term initiative, is education that we do. The second one is emergency relief. The third is medical and legal aid. And the fourth is shelter and food. And we'll talk about a little bit more about these. But one of the things why I got involved in IMRC is that I think it is unique in the programs that it offers, of not just being an emergency relief organization, but actively doing a cohesive work in helping improving the socioeconomic status of Muslims in India. And actually, we should add a fifth program here of teaching people Muslims in India about their religion, Islam. And one of the projects that I want to highlight is the Project READ that we did, which is building over 100 masjids in the coastal area of India after the tsunami hit. And so we should definitely talk about that as well. So in terms of education, we've been able to provide over 15,000 students support through our program. And that involves our JIT program and several of the other schools that we have in India. About 3 to 4 years ago, I had a chance to go to India and visit the Challenger School, which there's a school next to it and also an orphanage next to it. And many of the orphans actually walk over to the Challenger School. And that school is also supported, and other students also participate in that school. And one of the things that I found really heartbreaking and shaking to me was the general spirit of the orphans in the orphanage. And you know, they don't have a family, they don't have much, but the spirit that they had when we walked into the orphanage and how they reacted to us, and many of them wanted to recite different surahs to us, and we were only able to hear about 2 to 3 of them, and the rest of them were kind of upset that they didn't get to recite their surahs to us. And to me, it was really a life-changing moment of, you know, being able to understand what these people go through. And I would highly encourage you to not only donate your money, but to actually visit some of the orphanages. And take your kids there to understand the value of what it means to be able to live in this country and have the freedoms that we have. So about emergency relief, there's kind of 2 portions to this. The first is the man-made disasters, and the second is the natural disasters. So the man-made disasters could be fires or lynchings or other things going on. And in terms of the natural disasters, that usually involves earthquakes or floods. So we've been able to help about 25,000 people through our program. In the last year. The third piece is the medical and legal aid. And last year, and about 3 or 4 years ago when I had the chance to go to India, I was also able to visit the Indo-US hospital. And it's about 7 stories high actually. And when we were there, they were remodeling the 7th story and converting it to to have different training classes for medical staff and nurses. So not only are we providing actual medical services to those in need, but also training the next generation to be able to provide medical support. And so last year we were able to help about 50,000 patients in India. In terms of shelter and food, in Ramadan last year we were able to distribute 6.7 million meals. A majority of this is actually through our grains program of giving a package of grains to families at the beginning of Ramadan, so they have enough to basically for the entire month. And in terms of warm cooked meals, we served over 90,000 last year. So where does your zakat money go? It goes to emergency relief, feeding program, orphan support, and treating the sick. And one thing here that I want to highlight is that 100% of your zakat money actually goes to those in need. And that's another very unique thing about IMRC that we've been able to do. With the vision of Manzoor Uncle, we've been able to create an endowment. And that endowment provides and supports all of the administrative expenses for IMRC. So when you donate your money to IMRC, 100% of it, not even a penny less, goes to those in need. So to resonate what some of our work does to dollars, right? $1 a day feeds a person in Ramadan. $50 a day, $50 a month, supports a child's education. $60 a month is able to, or $360 a year is able to support an orphan for the entire year. And there's many different levels of this to give you an idea. But I just want to highlight what we might think as meaningless, right? $1 or $50 or $60 or $360, the amount of impact that it can have on people in India. And we should actively try to teach our kids of what it means, of what the value of a dollar means and how it can impact someone somewhere else like India. So I'll have Manzoor Uncle talk a little bit about the endowment and the situation of Muslims, the current situation of Muslims in India, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.